welcome back to TF1C, the Formula 1 chat. Today, we're going to be talking about Daniel Ricciardo. It's kind of been the talking point of everyone involved in Formula 1 recently because the situation around his future is quite strange and very much unclear. So we'll start talking about the McLaren situation. Of course, signed with a contract until the end of next season, but it's believed that contract will be cut short to make way for the arrival of Oscar Piastri. This still makes a lot of sense. It's a good deal for McLaren for the future, especially as Ricciardo has not been performing recently or at all while at McLaren. So changing him up does make a lot of sense. As a McLaren fan, what do you think of Piastri joining and Ricciardo not being there?
I love Daniel Ricciardo. I love Daniel Ricciardo to pieces. I think he's a fantastic Formula 1 driver, but his form at McLaren has not been good enough. Obviously, he's done the one thing that Lando Norris couldn't do, and that is win us a race. But you could argue if Daniel Ricciardo wasn't there in Monza, Lando would have won the race.
Well, Lando was told not to attack his teammate.
Yeah. As much as I love Daniel, I think Piastri is a phenomenal driver. I think he's an exceptional talent. Yeah. And obviously, if he would join McLaren, he would be a McLaren driver, so no ties to any other academies whatsoever. And I think him and Lando would be
similar
there
to Lando,
could dominate it for years.
In that sense, as a young driver that they could tie down to McLaren for a good while.
Like if you give Lando and Piastri a good car, they're fighting for race wins.
The question is, can they give him a good car?
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it, but I guess we'll see how Piastri adapts to the McLaren.
No, but this is the real question. Is Lando dragging the car up, or is Ricciardo dragging the car down?
Well, we will be talking about Lando Norris's performances in a video coming up soon, so look out for that at some point later this week. But today, the focus is on Ricciardo. I think there's a small chance he stays at McLaren, and that is the small matter of a £21 million settlement. That is a lot of money for McLaren to fork out to buy Ricciardo out of his contract.
I think they'll pay it.
I think they will pay it,
yeah.
But then Ricciardo's minted. He could probably start his own team.
Yeah.
He definitely can. 21 million is not enough, but do you think that's the end for him in F1 if he leaves McLaren now? I don't think there's any chance he's not leaving McLaren, because even if they didn't want to pay it, I think he'd probably bring it lower, because what's the point in him being there if they don't want him there?
The only two seats I could see him going to are back to Renault, Alpine, or to Haas.
Interesting shouts. I think there are. So what? If we look at the grid now, we have Williams, Haas, Alfa Romeo, Alpine, with open seats.
I think Alfa will lock down.
And Alfa Tauri.
I think Alfa will lock down Zhou Guanyu.
I don't think they will.
Don't.
I think with Théo Pourchaire announcing that he won't be in F2 next season, they might look at Pourchaire, or they might bring Pourchaire into a Piastri role. Or they might loan Pourchaire out somewhere and bring in Ricciardo. I don't know. I'll be interested to see whether
Zhou Guanyu should stay on the F1 grid.
I think he should, but
I think this year has proved he's a much better driver than Mick Schumacher.
Interesting shout. I think yes.
If we're looking, I think that Haas is better than that Alfa Romeo. Mick's in his second season, Zhou's in his first. So the fact that Zhou is only a couple of points off him in the championship.
Yeah. Do you think though that Ricciardo is finishing F1? Do you think that if he moves to another team, that's not just going to be similar scenes? And what team is going to be willing to take that punt? Because I don't see Haas as a realistic option. They do not have the money to sign Daniel Ricciardo. Maybe if he gets a 21 mil from McLaren, he'll go to Haas and say, "Look, I'll drive for a fiver."
I think he is done.
If you look at, Alfa, I don't see why I don't think Alpine will want him back. I think Alpine would rather take a punt on a Mick Schumacher or a Yuki Tsunoda for the future, because they've got a future plan. Yeah. They know that it's likely Esteban Ocon will join Mercedes at some point to be Lewis Hamilton's replacement. That is certainly an option. And so they do have to future plan against that. It does look like Esteban will be with them for a while, but we know how highly Toto regards Esteban Ocon. And for Mercedes, there doesn't seem to be many other options. I've seen Lando Norris touted with a move, but I don't know if that would happen.
Lando wouldn't go.
I don't know, because I think if Red Bull came in, Lando goes. And I think if Mercedes comes in, you've got to seriously think about it.
Max and Lando, I think, were probably the best lineup on the grid right now.
I think the best feasible lineup, because I don't think Leclerc would go to Red Bull, obviously. But yeah, so Ricciardo, there doesn't seem to be options in Formula 1. Because I think Alpha Tauri will either bring Yuki in or another new driver. They're not going to go and bring in Daniel Ricciardo. Alpine, I don't think they're going to want him back. I think they'd rather take a punt on a youngster. Then you look at Alfa Romeo, they've got Zhou and Porsche Fight Fantasy. They don't need to pay out on Ricciardo. Williams don't have the money for Ricciardo anyway, so that's completely out the window for them. And Haas are in a similar situation where they just cannot afford Daniel Ricciardo unless they were to have some huge investment or something.
I feel like, obviously, I think Ricciardo will still stay in racing somewhere. Do you think he could go for the Triple Crown?
What, and win the Indy 500 and Le Mans?
Yeah.
Potentially. I don't know if he's got the ambition to, but I think if anyone's going to, Daniel Ricciardo's got a good shout. I could see him driving an IndyCar.
Definitely.
The problem for IndyCar and Ricciardo is he either joins McLaren, in which case he's still going to be working with Zach Brown, or he joins another team and he's working against Zach Brown.
Actually, I'm not sure he wants to stay with Zach Brown.
I don't know, they seem to have a good relationship, but then equally Zach Brown seems to be the cause of all this. So where does he go? Does he look at a team like Andretti and hope that maybe that's his route back into Formula 1 in a few years' time? You know, Alonso was able to do a similar thing. Alonso was able to hop in and out of the sport. If Ricciardo went to Andretti and performed well enough, could Mario Andretti, when he builds his team, go, you know what, we've got a driver with F1 experience who's raced for us and we know works well with the team, that we can jump straight into this car and hope he can work, and we'll bring in Herta as well. A safe pair of hands in Ricciardo, who's driven in F1, a young gun in Herta. Do Andretti look at Ricciardo as a serious option right now for the IndyCar side, in the hope that if they are to get to Formula 1, he could be in a place to return? And what a sensational return that would be. Maybe he picks up the Indy 500. Maybe he picks up a few wins or even a championship in IndyCar. Yeah. And then maybe he returns to Formula 1.
Maybe.
I think America seems to be the option. Is NASCAR potentially an option for him?
Possibly.
Maybe. WEC as well could be a thing he does, I guess. But I don't know if there's any desire for the WEC championship in Ricciardo. I think he clearly likes the American culture a lot. I think IndyCar, it's still single-seaters. It's very similar to Formula 1 in that regard. I don't think it's too much of a step away. And I think it does then potentially play into a return to F1 if he was looking for that in a few years' time. I think another option I've written on the board, but I think that's a bit of a long shot, is Formula E.
No.
McLaren have said they're going to look and try and get Ricciardo another seat somewhere.
I think Ricciardo has no desire whatsoever to go to Formula E.
What, win a championship?
No. I don't think he really... I'm not sure. I think he'd much rather go to IndyCar. I think IndyCar would be so much better for him.
I think it'd be better for him, but...
He won't want to go to Formula E.
Yeah, you never know. I think it'd be fun to see Daniel Ricciardo in Formula E.
I don't want to see him in Formula E.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, I think potentially heading up that new McLaren team could be a good option if
I think
he was
more
willing
sense
to be
for
interested.
Ricciardo to go to IndyCar and Rosenqvist to go back to Formula E.
But I don't see Ricciardo. Does Rosenqvist want to go back to Formula E? Does Ricciardo want to go to race in IndyCar with?
Ricciardo might just retire.
I don't think he'll retire from all racing. I think he'll do something. Even he's not that old. You got to remember, Ricciardo's 32. Yeah. I think he is now.
Well, we'll see what he wants to do. He might go racing.
I mean, look at Kimi. He retired and he's still doing something.
Check him in the McLaren Extreme E-car.
I don't know about Extreme. It's just not really picked up in the way that I think Extreme wanted it to.
Yeah, no, I don't.
The whole format just doesn't make much sense.
I think IndyCar's the best place for him to go.
It's not very exciting. Yeah, I think Indy with Danny Rick would work, and I don't think he'll join Zach Brown. No. I think he'd rather be against Zach Brown and then win the championship and laugh in his face while Zach Brown is there trying to scratch the Daniel Ricciardo tattoo off of his body.
Oh, God, that.
So that would be a very fun situation. But yeah, as we've said, I don't think Ricciardo will be in F1 come next season.
No.
It's a shame. I think he's a great character around the paddock, but he's not a good enough driver right now.
No.
But potentially a few years away in IndyCar and then a return could see a new Daniel Ricciardo. And with new regulations coming in 2026, potentially the cars will be more to his style. Be interesting to see. Maybe Andretti will build the car around him. And maybe that could be the difference between, being able to having a competitive car and not having a competitive car. Because he clearly can't adjust to the way the McLaren is. But if the Andretti team are building a car from scratch to work around Daniel Ricciardo, does that then leave him with a better chance of succeeding when he returns to Formula 1? If he returns to Formula 1. it'll be interesting. Well, silly season is in full swing. There's still so many seats to decide.
Yeah.
We'll continue making videos on it while news keeps coming out. But yeah, that is all from us today. Make sure to get involved in the comments down below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the Daniel Ricciardo situation, the McLaren situation, and where does Daniel Ricciardo's future lie? And yeah, make sure to leave a like as well. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm, pushes us out to more people, in which case we can grow and grow and grow and then become massive and then create loads more videos for you guys. But yes, thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.